Welcome to Policycast. Today we are joined by Meenakshi Sharma, partner at Grant Thornton Bharat, to discuss a topic that has become increasingly important for India's listed companies, UPSI governance. As India's capital markets continue to grow and investor expectations around governance and transparency become more stringent, companies are expected to demonstrate not just what information they disclose, but how they protect unpublished price sensitive information throughout its life cycle. From IPO bound companies to established listed entities, robust UPSI governance is no longer just a compliance requirement, it's a business imperative. Welcome to our Policycast series, Meenakshi. Let me start with a broad question to set the context. Why are regulators placing great emphasis on UPSI governance today?
Hi, thank you for having me for this conversation, and for the starting question as well. I'd rather reframe it. The regulators have always been laying a lot of emphasis on UPSI governance or insider trading prevention, etc., whatever you may call it, right? Since the regulations came into play, there have been series of amendments. I would say the major overhauling happened in around 2018, which got impacted from 2019, where there were internal controls brought in, accountability, etc., put in on boards, management, to see to it that there is governance around this whole insider trading stuff and UPSI management, etc. These days, we are seeing that this is just strengthening day by day, because the information flow which is there within the organization has become far more complex, right? And we're working in different environments today, with AI coming in, with so much of social media around us. It's become all the more important that we devise effective ways of protecting what is called unpublished price sensitive information, or UPSI. Regulators expect organizations to understand this more effectively, and then be able to control or manage the price sensitive information flows, whether they're within the organization or outside, more actively or proactively, rather than reacting on it or in a reactive fashion, is what I would like to say. Yeah.
That sets the context very well. The complexity of information flows has clearly changed the way UPSI risks need to be managed. Let us now look at where these risks typically show up inside the organizations. So, where do organizations typically face the biggest governance gaps, Meenakshi?
If Since we're talking about prevention of insider trading and UPSI, the biggest governance gaps, I would say that they're not in policy drafting or setting the context, but this is in execution and the will and the spirit to actually drive this, right? The tone at the top has to be set. That is something that I believe all the corporates, the managements might want to do, but putting that into action is a basic challenge. The other challenges would be, the identification of UPSI for that perspective, right? People aren't really aware as to what is UPSI and what is not, right? While the finance functions, the secretarial functions do know about it, but the general public, and people at large in the organization, especially in larger organizations, larger listed companies, they aren't aware on what to do, and most importantly, what not to do, right? Be it trading in their shares, or even transfer of unpublished price sensitive information. Limited monitoring of need to know access, right? Does everybody need to have an access of UPSI? Inadequate audit trails, or information trails, if we can say, not, there's no control over STD monitoring, etc. These are certain key challenges that managements and companies face.
So that's a useful distinction because the challenge is not the absence of a policy, but whether the policy is being applied consistently. Let us take a specific example that many companies deal with, the IPO process. IPOs create significant UPSI. Where do organizations most often underestimate the risk?
That's an excellent question, I must say, because the days and times that we are in, there's a lot of focus around IPOs, and India is a growing market. And that is why, I go back to your first question on why the rigor by the regulator now, because the amount of IPOs that are coming in, the amount of companies that are going to get listed, we need to have fair markets, right? Fair capital markets in our country. Right. So IPOing companies, I think there's a greater responsibility on their managements and boards to see that UPSI is protected. But what we see, and currently from my experience of working with many companies who are in their IPO stage, is that while they focus a lot on the DRHP process and the whole gamut of work that has to be done around an IPO from a listing perspective, etc. But the real risk from an insider trading or a UPSI perspective starts much before that, right? And I think in the 2018-19 amendment that had come in, they had actually called out that, companies which are to be listed, so which are the IPOing companies or something of that sort, do need to kind of follow the regulations as well. So financial performance, valuation discussions, acquisition plans, anchoring investor interaction, promoter decisions, and even internal readiness assessments, there could be bits and pieces of UPSI lying all everywhere, right? A common scenario could also be where employees involved in IPO preparation, share kind of business updates or growth projections with colleagues on a business need basis without formally assessing whether the information qualifies as a UPSI or not. By the time the IPO becomes public, the information may already have been circulated far beyond the core project team. This has to be assessed. So, the regulations actually become applicable on you the day, the process starts and you are there to qualifying as a to be listed company. So you should start looking at the process far before you are a listed company as well.
Yeah, so that's a very relatable example. It shows that UPSI concerns can arise much earlier than the market may realize. And since information now moves faster than ever, let us talk about the role of technology here. So has technology made UPSI governance easier or more difficult?
I think the answer lies, it's both a friend and a devil, I would say, both. It does help in UPSI governance because there are technological interventions, some which the regulator has mandated, the others which people have discovered themselves. And there are a lot of solutions around how, the UPSI governance could be handled. But at the same time, we've seen that, through technology, not proper and effective usage of technology like informal digital channels and other things like social media networks, etc. All of that's available with us. Third party using the company's systems or laptops, PCs, etc. No monitoring of controls when people are leaving the organization, etc. Can they easily take away data or put in confidential data into pen drives, etc., and take it with them? No, all those are lack of controls also, which technology has brought in, right? I always give a very, common example where people email and then, they've got almost the entire world in something which we call as a copied to, right? There's absolutely no need, but it's just that I'm doing my job and hence I've placed it there. Now, there could be a potential UPSI in that conversation. Are we helping the cause? No, we aren't. But at the same time, it isn't as bad as it looks like. With structured digital databases, access logs being monitored and being made available, I think there is coming some method to the madness as well.
Yeah, so that's an important reminder that technology is both an enabler and a risk area as well. Even with strong controls, informal digital sharing can create exposure. Let us now turn to the human side of governance, which is training. Organizations invest heavily in policies and controls. Why does training remain such a critical component of UPSI governance?
You hit the nail, right, if I were to say, because, most UPSI breaches or non-compliance with the PIT regulations does not happen due to there not being a great policy or lack of, any documentation around it. It happens when individuals do not understand this, right, or fail to recognize that this is an unpublished price-sensitive information, or misjudge who it can be shared with, or underestimate the consequences of a seemingly routine conversation. trainings or creating awareness, etc. They help this bridge this gap by translating the regulatory requirements into real life decision making. Employees and all the designated persons and I would rather say insiders need to understand how UPSI arises in their day-to-day roles. What does the need to know principle mean in practice, and how to respond when confronted with gray areas. Many enforcement cases also reveal that the issue was not the absence of controls, but a failure of awareness, judgment, or escalation at times. Effective training, therefore, could serve as a preventive control, helping organizations build a culture where employees pause before sharing information and ask whether that sharing is necessary and appropriate. And I would go a step further and say that, it could not be a scenario where, you've done the training for once and forgotten it for years, right? It needs to be a regular kind of a refresher, because trust me, from my practical experience of having worked with so many companies on this, they do realize what this is when talked about, but this being such a technical regulatory subject, you can't expect people to remember this just by a conversation once which has had. So I think more frequent conversations and conversations on trainings, awareness, etc. could be role based or tier based also within the organizations, and that has always helped.
Of course, that point on awareness and judgment is very important. At the end of the day, controls work only when people understand how to apply them in real situations. Looking ahead, what should boards and the senior management be preparing for?
There's a greater role for both the senior management as well as the boards when it comes to regulatory compliance with the prevention of insider trading regulations and UPSI governance. I think the board needs to set the tone at the top, which is like, a culture of zero tolerance towards anything like this. That's the main task that has to be done by the boards. They should expect greater scrutiny around information governance, auditability, digital records, accountability, and oversight of UPSI across the entire life cycle of an information, exchange that may happen in the organization. The management has to see to it that the internal controls, etc., are working very well. And of course, this also gets done along with the boards. But they have to see that whatever the regulations are asking for, just not go with that, but a little over and above to ensure that the best practice is followed. So the question that is increasingly becoming, did insider trading occur, is not the case, but was sensitive information being governed appropriately in the first place? I think that becomes really, really important.
That's a very relevant way to conclude. The future of PIT compliance will not just be about policies, but about effective, demonstrable governance of sensitive information. Thank you for those valuable insights, Meenakshi. Thank you for sharing your perspectives on why strong UPSI governance goes far beyond regulatory compliance and has become central to building investor trust. As companies navigate an increasingly complex regulatory and business environment, establishing clear accountability, strengthening information controls, and maintaining a robust governance framework will be critical to sustaining market confidence. Thank you to our listeners for tuning in to this week's episode of PolicyCast. We will be back soon with more expert conversations on the developments shaping the world of tax, trade policy, and regulation. Until then, thanks for listening.